Imane Khelif taking legal action over misogynistic, racist, and sexist online harassment after gender eligibility controversy at Paris 2024 Olympics. Imane Khelif now has a no fight on her hands. Algeria's women's welterweight boxer at the Paris 2024 Olympics won gold on Friday after weathering a gender eligibility controversy earlier in the tournament. Khelif has been at the center of ongoing storm after her first bout went viral on social media and was surrounded by confusion and misinformation online. Italy's Angela Carini was reduced to tears as she quit that fight after just 46 seconds. Carini said afterwards that she had decided to pull out, having been hit harder than she had ever been hit before. Khelif is one of two fighters, along with Lin Yuding of Taiwan, who was cleared by the International Olympic Committee (IOC) to compete in women's boxing in Paris after having previously been ruled to have failed a gender test by the IBA, a matter that has been hotly disputed. The IBA are the governing body who previously used to run amateur boxing at the Olympics, but had their recognition removed by the IOC after Rio 2016 due to issues with their finance, governance, and ethics. Both organizations have been feuding ever since and engaged in an intense back and forth over the gender eligibility issue at Paris 2024. At the end of it all, Khelif won her gold medal as the IOC stood firm on their decision to clear her. The confusion and misinformation which surrounded the Algerian situation led to her receiving mass hatred and abuse online, and now that her time at the Olympics has concluded, she intends to fight back. Khelif has filed a legal complaint to do so. Mrs. Khelif contacted the firm, which filed a complaint yesterday for aggravated cyber harassment with the Online Hate Center of the Paris Prosecutor's Office, said her lawyer Nabi Boudi. The criminal investigation will determine who initiated this misogynistic, racist, and sexist campaign, but will also have to focus on those who fueled this digital lynching. The unfair harassment suffered by the boxing champion will remain the biggest stain of these Olympic Games. The IOC previously made a lengthy statement on the situation. It read, "Every person has the right to practice sport without discrimination. All athletes participating in the boxing tournament of the Olympic Games Paris 2024 comply with the competition's eligibility and entry regulations, as well as all applicable medical regulations set by the Paris 2024 Boxing Unit (PU). As with previous Olympic boxing competitions, the gender and age of the athletes are based on their passport. The PU used the Tokyo 2020 boxing rules as a baseline to develop its regulations for Paris 2024. This was to minimize the impact on athletes' preparations and guarantee consistency between Olympic Games. These Tokyo 2020 rules were based on the post-Rio 2016 rules, which were in place before the suspension of the Boxing International Federation by the IOC in 2019 and the subsequent withdrawal of its recognition in 2023. We have seen in reports misleading information about two female athletes competing at the Olympic Games Paris 2024. The two athletes have been competing in international boxing competitions for many years in the women's category, including the Olympic Games Tokyo 2020, International Boxing Association (IBA) World Championships, and IBA-sanctioned tournaments. These two athletes were the victims of a sudden and arbitrary decision by the IBA. Towards the end of the IBA World Championships in 2023, they were suddenly disqualified without any due process. According to the IBA minutes available on their website, this decision was initially taken solely by the IBA Secretary General and CEO. The IBA board only ratified it afterwards, and only subsequently requested that a procedure to follow in similar cases in the future be established and reflected in the IBA regulations. The minutes also say that the IBA should establish a clear procedure on gender testing. The current aggression against these two athletes is based entirely on this arbitrary decision, which was taken without any proper procedure, especially considering that these athletes had been competing in top-level competition for many years. Such an approach is contrary to good governance. Eligibility rules should not be changed during ongoing competition, and any rule change must follow appropriate processes and should be based on scientific evidence. The IOC is committed to protecting the human rights of all athletes participating in the Olympic Games as per the Olympic Charter, the IOC Code of Ethics, and the IOC Strategic Framework on Human Rights. The IOC is saddened by the abuse that the two athletes are currently receiving. The IBA's recognition was withdrawn by the IOC in 2023, following its suspension in 2019. The withdrawal of recognition was confirmed by the Court of Arbitration for Sport (CAS). The IOC has made it clear that it needs national boxing federations to reach a consensus around a new international federation in order for boxing to be included on the sports program of the Olympic Games. Law 28.